Welcome to an episode of Chat Sports Talk, and welcome to the 2024 NFL Week 8 preview and pick video. That's right, we go over the full slate of Week 8 games. That's right, we do have a full slate. No one's off this week. And there's no Owl Country games either, so we're all smack dab in the go US of A, all 16 teams, all 32 teams in action for 16 games. But before I dive into those picks, I will dive into Week 7 and the menagerie that I had with that week. It was painful. Painful. Get this off. Went 8-7. It was I started off so bad. I kept losing games. I just couldn't get anything right. Couldn't get nothing right. Then I started hitting my stride with the late afternoon games, where the late afternoon all the way through Monday night, where I only lost one. But those early games that's where I was. If this was like a 12-round fight in those early rounds, I was getting knocked down. I was getting hit a lot. But I just kept hitting those body shots until I am getting the win. But anyways, kick off last Thursday. I'll go try to do this quick, fast, in a hurry. Denver, New Orleans. I failed to take into account the amount of injuries the Saints have accumulated. Spencer Rattler was the starting quarterback. I kind of took the head of that. Maybe, Carr could be back in. You look at Kamara. There's too many injuries with the Saints right now. They tried to put up a fight, but Spencer Rattler, he doesn't look like an NFL quarterback. But Denver was just having too much fun as Sean Payton triumphs in his win to New Orleans, giving me loss number 1. We head back over across the pond into London, over to Wembley Stadium, where the Jaguars were taking on the Patriots. May looked good this previous week against Houston, so I figure he'll have a good, decent game against the Jaguars. And all in all, not too bad, 276 yards in the air, 2 touchdowns. But this was a game where Jacksonville all of a sudden came to life, as Bigsby had over 100 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, and the Jaguars just could not be stopped in this game and just doubled up on New England, 32-16, giving me loss number 2. Head down to the ATL. Seahawks came to town. Picked Atlanta to win this game. Seattle was just way too much. Kirk Cousins looked out of sorts. He's still at 230 yards with a touchdown, but he only had that one touchdown. Robinson for the Falcons had 100 yards on the ground with a touchdown. But that defense was just dominating, suffocating of the Atlanta offense. As Geno Smith threw for 2 TDs, and Seahawks rumbled past Atlanta 34-14. We head up to Buffalo, where the Bills were playing host to the Titans. And this is like one of my few bright spots in the early games. The Bills, even though they struggled early, clinched in the end, and Amari Cooper paid off dividends right away. Even though you see the play, Allen calls it audible. Amari Cooper had no idea what the audible was. Looked at the rookie receiver and kind of pointed where he had the run. Amari runs his route. His first catch was a touchdown pass in his Buffalo Bills debut. The Bills end up rolling over Tennessee 34-10. Then my other bright spot for the early games was the Buckeye State showdown up there on the shores of Lake Erie between the Bengals and the Browns. Deshaun is gone. He has a leg injury, more like I think MRI's showing a torn ACL. So he's definitely out. But Cleveland did start to come back a little bit. It was early, rough goings in the beginning. It was 7-6.5. Cincinnati then took off in that second quarter. They had to get some needed breathing room. But Joe Burrow did not have a very productive passing game. 15-25, 181 yards, 2 touchdowns. But that's all he needed because he's taking on Cleveland. They held on beat the Browns 21-14. Yeah, through Lambeau. This is where I picked Houston to go in there and win. Could have. They could have won. They left too much time on the clock. Jordan Love was able to drive down the field, and they ended up kicking Big Manis ended up kicking a final play field goal to send the Packers beating the Texans 24-22 in a very good showdown between possibly two playoff-bound teams. Hey, we're to Indy, where this is where I picked the Colts to win. I thought it'd be winning a little bit more, but Anthony Richardson was returning to the action, so you definitely tell a little ring-washed. He was a little rusty, his return, so he struggled a bit. Miami still without Tua, still nursing him back to health with that nasty concussion he suffered. And it was a back-and-forth game. Miami had the early going, but once the cobwebs and the rust and all that stuff just was shaken off of Anthony Richardson, he was able to get back in the form. The defense clamped down, and the Colts ended up winning 16-10. Up in Minnesota, with a classic showdown between the Lions and the Vikings. And this is where I thought Minnesota would come out on top. Detroit had other plans. They were up early, 21-10 at the half, 28-17 heading to that final quarter. But this is where Minnesota start itching away and start nipping away at that Lion lead. And they just ran out of time as Detroit was able to hold off a late Minnesota charge, beat them 31-29. Head over to the Meadowlands with the G-Men playing host to the Eagles. These are two franchises in disarray. And I didn't know the Eagles are actually going to lean on Saquon Barkley and his return to the Meadowlands or not. Because they don't look outsort. They play Cleveland, so I wasn't too high on them on that aspect. And I really thought the G-Men could have them. I thought just win these divisional games that you just didn't see what's going to happen. But Barkley had 176 yards on the ground. He silenced everyone. Jalen Hurst didn't have to throw a lot. 10 of 14 for 144 yards and with a touchdown. That touchdown went to A.J. Brown. So the offense was relying on Barkley, which was, I think, needed to happen. Needed that statement win. They needed to rely on Barkley to run the game, They focus on that, and that allows Jalen Hurst to break out, to possibly run or throw. So I think this could be a start of things to come. We'll see what happens next week, but Eagles end up winning 28-3. Giving me loss number 6. Out there in Santa Clara, my only dark mark on the late games. So I picked the 49ers, but once again, injuries seems to be a key thing with a lot of these teams. The Chiefs suffered a lot of injuries in that receiving core, but Patrick Mahomes is doing everything. He actually ran over somebody when he ran for a touchdown. Because if you ever watch Get Up, and when Jeff Saturday does his pancakes, this was featured on that. Because he destroyed the defensive back, came in, just going, I got this lick on Mahomes. I got him dead to rights at the 1. Hit him high. Mahomes just shouldered him off. The guy was landing on his head, feet in the air, and Mahomes is staring him down like, get out of my way, little man. That defensive back received it, and it was a glorious hit. I feel sorry for that 49er because he's going to get clowned for the rest of the season for that hit. The Chiefs was way too much. That defense for the Chiefs is no joke. No joke. And I'll tell you, no joke. And it's going to elevate the Chiefs, and as long as Mahomes limits some mistakes and they find some help in the receiving core, help's coming. More on that in a minute, but the 49ers need to get healthy fast. Otherwise, they're going to find themselves outside looking in. Right, the Chiefs end up winning 28-18. Steelers were taking on the Jets. Russell Wilson got the starting role, the starting nod. much to Justin Fields' chagrin. But with Justin in, the offense for the Steelers was missing something. I mean, Justin gives you a different aspect of quarterback because he can get you with the run as well as he can actually throw the ball. But some decision-making was a little out there. Russell Wilson has the veteran status. He's a proven Super Bowl winner. He's been to the game twice. But he had that bad year in Denver. He's coming off this injury, so could be a little, could be Rusty Wilson. But Tomlin decided to put him in, let him cook. And it struggled early. Aaron Rodgers is having his way with the offense. Devontae Adams is making his presence known. And it was a good showing, but the second half was a different story altogether. I mean, it was a 15-13 halftime lead for the Jets, so a high-scoring baseball game between the Mets and Pirates. But that second half, Russ got comfortable. He was in the zone, and he just shredded the Jets' defense. As the Steelers, I mean, Najee Harris really helped when he had 100 yards himself on the ground, and I think with a good, competent running attack, that gives Russell Wilson time he needs because they have to worry about the run. So you utilize the play action. They'll find people. Pickens was his favorite target, had over 100 yards with a touchdown. And the Steelers were just too much for the Jets, beat them 37-15. The doubleheader on Monday night, down Tampa, where the Ravens came into town, and Derrick Henry was phenomenal. I mean, almost 170 yards on the ground. He kept making these huge runs that just changed the landscape of the game. But Baker Mayfield would not go away. He had thrown 370 yards, 3 touchdowns. They had a fourth quarter surge, but they had half the game where they didn't score any points, and that was part of the problem. It was a 17-10 halftime lead by Baltimore. They put up another 17 points in that third quarter. Gave them a 34-10 lead into that final frame. And Baltimore was able to hold on. The late charge by Baltimore beat them 41-31, moving to 5-2. And that NFC South, I think, is really between Tampa Bay and Atlanta right now. But Tampa Bay is definitely a team you cannot overlook. And then we had the showdown in the desert between the Cardinals and the Chargers. This one I picked the Chargers. They decided to black out the game, wearing an all-black uniform. And it was a decent showing between Kyler Murray and Justin Herbert. In the end, it was just that, they gave Kyler Murray enough opportunity to come back. He let it drive. He set it up and let Ryland hit a game-winning field goal as the Cardinals end up beating the Chargers 17-15. That was my week. I went 8-7. I wasn't too happy with the outcomes of that, but it is what it is. We got to come across a trade that came across early Wednesday morning, the time frame I'm making this video. The Chiefs and Titans are close to finalizing a deal for DeAndre Hopkins. That's right. The Chiefs would get DeAndre Hopkins in a trade which it looks like to be a conditional 4th-round pick that the Titans will receive. And, details should be finished by the time I get this video up. And the Chiefs definitely need this because Rashid Rice gone. He needs surgery on his right knee thanks to Patrick Mahomes. Hollywood Brown had a shoulder injury in the preseason. And Juju Smith-Schuster right now is suffering a hamstring injury. And he's at least out for the game against the Raiders. He could be out longer depending on how long that hamstring heals up. Travis Kelce has a really made himself. I mean, he's shown up, but his presence is not as dominating as once was. You still have the rookie of Xavier Worthy, and then also Justin Watson. Worthy, definitely the speedster. And right now, he's better used as a trickster than a receiver. and actually help balance out the defense, which is a focal point of this team that could lead them to go to places. But we'll see what happens from here. Now, we got the news out of the way. We got last week's. Let's dive into week number 8. Like I said, a full slate of games that start things off for Thursday Night Football on Prime. We have the Minnesota Vikings heading into SoFi to take on the Rams. The Vikings are looking to lick their wounds and sacrifice the Rams to appease Odin. This should be a good matchup between Darnold and Stafford. One thing is to kind of look out that Cooper Kupp could be coming back to help out that receiving core, which has been decimated for the Rams. Because Nakio is definitely out, even though there's trade rumors right now for Cooper Kupp. But if Kupp and Stafford get together, it should be a decent thing. If Williams can continue to be a dominant, a decent force back in the backfield for the Rams. He has over 430 yards right now in the season. But I look at Justin Jefferson as a focal point for the Minnesota. Aaron Jones is a question for this week. So we'll see how that one kind of hampers. And some of the issues on the defensive side, kind of makes things a little hesitant for the Vikings. Because right now the spread is 3 for Minnesota. I think that is a very good spread given the fact of some of the holes in the Minnesota's defense and taking on a veteran quarterback in Stafford. And if Kupp is healthy and those two are on the same page, will spell havoc for Minnesota to try to battle that. But I think Minnesota is talented enough, especially with Darnold and Jefferson. I mean, they had that comeback against Detroit. They just fell short. I have a feeling they'll be able to withstand LA and leave SoFi with the W. Now after Sunday, we start things off in the jungles of Cincinnati as Joe Cool and the Cincinnati Bengals play host to Jalen Hurts and Fly Eagles Fly. Philadelphia's coming in a 2-game winning streak. They got a little bit of the swag back. Looks like, Sirianni, Barkley have this great chemistry between each other. It seems things be working out. Joe Burrow and, of course, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins have this great chemistry with each other. Brown, not so much a focal point for that running attack. But some question marks on the Phillies' defense could allow Cincinnati to take advantage of that. But Cincinnati also has some issues on the defensive line, which will make keeping Joe Burrow upright an issue. I mean, looking at this, both teams are coming to a 2-game win streak. Only one is going to walk away with a victory, and both of them won against the exact same two teams. So right now we don't have any metric to really hold them against. But look at this. I think Philadelphia is in the right spot, but Cincinnati is favored by 2.5. ESPN Analytics give the Eagles pretty much a 50% chance of winning, so I think it's a pick'em game. I'm going to go with Philadelphia on this one, but I do expect Joe Burrow to put up some decent numbers, and it's going to be a very close game, and definitely a fun one to watch. Then we head over to Lake Erie once again with the Browns as they take on the Ravens, and Watson gone. So it's going to be a issue right now. What's going to happen? Because he's not expecting to return until next season, and this team, the Cleveland team, is just utter mess. I mean, you got Ford that's questionable. So the running game it has some issues, and it's. Even their backup quarterback is questionable. What what's the positive thing he can really have? I mean, the last 5 games, the most points they've scored is 16. And that was and 3 of those games, you pretty much are actually 4 of the last 5 games are just still a 1-score game. Because defensively, only 1 game in the last 5 did the opponent score over 30 points. So Cleveland has some assets in there, but not having Deshaun Watson in there could really affect the whole team aspect as a whole. And unfortunately, Deshaun Watson is going to be the Achilles heel for Cleveland because they have attached so much to him in one of the worst trades in NFL history. And Baltimore is just running wild with King Henry coming out there. I think King Henry is that missing piece for that Baltimore and Lamar Jackson to hit that next level. And it took them a while to get everything synced. But I think this team is going the right direction. Right now, Baltimore's favored by 9.5, and I don't see any reason why not. Ravens. Head over to the Motor City where the Lions play host to the Titans, and I'm not going to spend much on this one. Calvin Ridley might as well start looking for a new team as well. Will Levis is questionable. Hopkins is no longer with this team. He's been traded away. Snead's questionable for one of their top corners for Detroit. I mean, yeah, they got some issues on the defensive line, so I think trying to find another big-time lineman to kind of help plug that hole that Hutchinson kind of lost would really help out. Definitely would be a good thing, but you saw what they did with Minnesota, so maybe not. That wouldn't hurt, to tell you the truth. But I think Jared Goff is having a very good year, very quietly a MVP-esque type of season. He probably finished 3rd in the voting, but he's definitely put up some decent numbers. And I don't expect anything different. Right now, the line's 12.5, and why not? Going with the Lions as well. All right, now we head down to South Beach where the Dolphins play host to the Cardinals. And Tua is trying to come back. But I don't know. I think he's actually off the IR this week. But for me, it's one of these situations where you want to protect individual from themselves. And Tua, he's definitely said that in the press conference, and I completely understand his point. He loves the game of football. He'd rather, be out there playing instead of sitting on the sidelines. And I get that. He's a very capable young man. But sometimes you got to look at what could be on there. All right, so technically he's still on the injury reserve after I looked it up. According to Mike McDaniel, he said best on Monday that Tua will practice Wednesday in preparation for potential play in Week 8 versus the Cardinals. So there's still a possibility that he could get off the IR in time, but he has to still pass third-party whatnot to pass concussion protocols. And I know it's been 4 weeks, 5 weeks now, but this is something that you need to protect Tua for himself. And as much as he brings to the game, I think if he does go in, he might be a hindrance. But I do think he probably will play. Tyreek Hill and him should be really feeling better with that one, especially we got to look at the quarterback room in Miami is turned into a mash unit. But for Kyler Murray, he's very elusive. He throws 3 touchdowns per interception. And then Connor has been really lightening up, especially when he did last week against the Chargers. I have a feeling there might be the same type of aspect coming in here. We also could probably have some issues with Marvin Harrison Jr. Looked a little shaken up against the Chargers as well. So, it's a good, I don't want to say good, but decent aspect that looks like there's no reoccurring issues with Marvin Harrison Jr. as well. So that gives Kyler Murray some little deep threat, especially have McBride being another good receiver for him as well. Right now the line that's 2.5 because I expect Tua to come back. Tua's going to be rusty. He's going to make a lot of silly mistakes. This will be a very close game. This should be probably another low-scoring affair like the Cardinals and Chargers. I'm taking Big Red to New England, where the Patriots play host to the Jets. And the Jets didn't look like a team that looked like they were heading the right direction last week in Pittsburgh. Especially that second half, it was just a horrible showing. And it's just like the whole offense just changed aspect. Garrett Wilson was just making some really bad drops, and it's just nothing was panning out. Drake managed to make some good progress against that. I think if the Patriots are able to run with Stevenson, they should pick up some pretty good yardage. Breece Hall needs to get more into the running attack for the Jets. That will help eliminate a lot of things, a lot of issues. New England's just one of these teams that looks like they're not – things are kind of falling off this wagon pretty quickly. Technically, I wouldn't put past them in winning this game. I mean, they lost it earlier 5 weeks ago, or back on the 19th, should I say, to be more specific. They lost to the Jets then with Jacoby Brissett starting. Now you have a new starting quarterback. Different head coach for the Jets. But it's probably going to be the same result. Right now, the Jets are favored by 6.5. I think it's going to be closer. I think the Patriots are going to make this a game, much to the Jets' chagrins. And we'll see what type of answers Aaron Rodgers will have on the following Pat McAfee show. Because he said everyone's too tight and not having fun. I mean, yeah, if you're doing the job that you love, then you're not working. And it looks like the Jets are working because they're not loving their job. It could be the whole situation with what's going on with the Jets, with the coaching situation. Head coach gets fired. The OC can't call the plays. The defensive coordinator is taking over the head coaching job, is still doing defensive coordinating, and it's just these guys are all over the place, and Aaron Rodgers being Aaron Rodgers. But I do expect the Jets to strafe past the Patriots in a very close matchup, but I do think it'll be less than 6.5. In another divisional class between the Falcons and the Buccaneers. Last time these two faced off was back on October 3rd, where the Falcons won in OT against the Bucs 36-30 because they got the opening kickoff and took it all the way to the house. I do expect a very good game between these two teams again. Kirk Cousins has been kind of slacking off a bit. I mean, he took on Carolina, so there's not really much to say there. But against Seattle, he struggled immensely, and he does that every so often. We have a game where he's a little off his game. I don't expect that to happen this week. But the thing with Baker Mayfield is you can't count him out. The problem is his 2 star receivers are out. Godwin and Evans are both gone for this week. So who is going to step up for the role for receiving for Baker Mayfield? And that's going to be a key issue. Can Bijan Robinson continue to thrive in the running attack? And as much as I wanted to pick Tampa Bay with this one, with Baker Mayfield losing 2 key receivers, it's going to be a hard sell to try to figure out if this team will actually win. Right now, Tampa Bay is favored by 3. I mean, I like Baker. I like what he does. Very energetic individual. A little careless with his throw sometimes, yes. But missing 2 key receivers, I don't know if he's going to be able to have the right chemistry with the other players on this team at this present point in time. And, they're favored by 3, and I initially pick them, but I'm calling audible. I'm going with Atlanta. It's Kirk Cousins had a bad week last week. He's going to bounce back, and he's going to bounce back against Tampa quite nicely. Can the defense stop Atlanta? That's going to be a question mark. They couldn't last time. But I think Atlanta's defense should be able to step up, even though they haven't really done that much. I mean, the only time they had a good defense is that the loss to Kansas City. But I'll take Hot Atlanta to sweep the series. Love and the Packers heading down to Jacksonville after they spent 2 weeks in London. They'll now play at home, have a homecoming of sorts, but they've got to take on the Green Bay Packers in the Mark Brunell Bowl. In case you don't know, Mark Brunell was a expansion draft pick who used to be a backup in Green Bay, who had some good years with early Jacksonville. But the Jacksonville offense came alive against the Patriots. They're not going to have the same luck. They're taking on a very competent Packers team. They will find ways to make it close. Jordan Love, a decent quarterback. He does make a few mistakes here and there. Of course, almost all these quarterbacks do. But we have 50 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. That's kind of a bad aspect. And if Bigsby can be a good factor for the Jags, this will definitely dictate a whole new aspect for this one. Right now, it's a 5.5 advantage for Green Bay. And with Antoine could be a questionable for as well as for Jacksonville, kind of give him that dual-headed running back attack. I am inclined to go with Green Bay on this one, but I do think it might be closer than 5, just because I think Jacksonville will be hungry to force turnovers, and Jordan Love will be most happy to oblige with that aspect. As can Green Bay's defense step up and take care. And wow, I think I originally said I was going to pick Green Bay, but looking at my notes, so it's the problem is when you just shooting off the hip, don't run with the script, you just kind of go. But no, I'm going to take the Jags. Houston showed vulnerability with Green Bay. The Rams have shown vulnerability with Green Bay. Minnesota. If the Jaguars can do what they did against Houston, against Indianapolis, and against New England, and they won 2 of those games, it's going to give Green Bay a lot to worry about. Jordan Love, I think, will make a few mistakes early in the game. Can Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars capitalize on those mistakes? That's going to be the key factor. If they can ride high and get that win in London, they could definitely shot Green Bay. And I think there's a reason why I am picking the Jags to win at home. Colts and Texans square off. Anthony Richardson's going to get round 2 against C.J. Stroud. And the first one wasn't that bad. I know it came down to the wire in that first week of action. And Richardson's throwing some bombs. But with the Texans losing Nico Collins, is definitely going to affect the receiving core a bit. And Robert Woods being questionable. But I think there's still enough talent on that offense that the Mexican can definitely break loose and have some good games. Right now, Houston's favored by 6.5. I'm liking those odds as well. I'm also taking the Texans to sweep the Colts. Now the Saints head into SoFi, take on the Chargers, and then this injury-riddled team of New Orleans is limping in, trying to find ways to get in there because Derek Carr is still sitting out. Spencer Rattler is not the answer because he looked out of place last week. Partly because he's running for his life most of the time frame against Denver. But Justin Herbert is going to need to be really lead this team up. The hardball return at NFL has been kind of lackluster. I mean, the Chargers are 500 right now. But I know injuries have also plagued them as well, especially on the offensive side, and Bosa being kind of questionable as well. So losing receivers really does hamper your aspect, and can Al Kamara be stopped once again by the Chargers defense. They had a decent job against the Cardinals. They just couldn't close it out at the end, and that's going to be part of the problem. Can they close it out? Right now, Chargers favored by 7.5. With the question marks on both these teams because of the injury, this is like two mass units colliding. Which mass unit you want to take? I'll take the ones home. I'm also taking the Chargers, but I think it's going to be closer than 7. It's just because of how these teams are right now just limping through the season. Then we head up to the Pacific Northwest as the Seahawks play host to the Buffalo Bills. And Geno, season's kind of faltered a little bit this season. I mean, he's like 1 for 1 almost when it comes to touchdown interceptions. Metcalf and Walker are not really having that much impact in the receiving core because DK Metcalf could be questionable for this game. Seattle went into Atlanta and did more than what I thought they would because that definitely avenged their 3-game losing streak. Still question marks remain. And Buffalo, anytime they take on anyone substance, they lose, i.e. Houston and Baltimore. But adding Amari Cooper to the receiving core has really transformed, I think, Buffalo. I mean, it took a while against the Titans for that unit to finally start clicking, but once that happened, I think it's going to be a good thing. Josh Allen. I don't think Seattle is going to be that much of a headache for him because they're also kind of limping through the season. Right now, Buffalo's favored by 2.5. ESPN Analytics have them favored by 64%. I like this as well. I do think it's going to be a close game between these two, but I do like the Bills to win up in Puget Sound. Then we had the Mile High. We had the Panthers come to town, and I don't think there's going to be much of a matchup. Dalton right now is questionable. Bryce Young is just a shell of his former self. There's some issues right now with the Denver side, but Bo Nix looks promising. I mean, he had a decent showing against the Saints, but then he had that dud against the Chargers. So, you know, it's one of those things. I think that's what you're going to find with him. It's going to be, you know, hit or miss. Right now, Denver's favored by 7.5. I had no questions with that game either. Broncos. Then we head out to Allegiant Stadium, and the Raiders will play host to the Kansas City Chiefs in a huge AFC West showdown. This has the earmarks of a upset. Unfortunately, I don't think it will be. Gardner Minshew is not going to have that game. He is not that guy. Remember, he doesn't have Devontae Adams anymore. The Chiefs' receiving core has been decimated. Juju is out. Rashid Rice, IR. Pacquiao, IR. They did make that trade for DeAndre Hopkins, so we'll see if that one kind of helps out. See if Hunt can really get back to what he was prior to him leaving Kansas City. But can the Chiefs offense keep Max Crosby off Patrick Mahomes? And can the Raiders offensive line keep the Chiefs defense out of the backfield? And that's going to be a big no. Chiefs are favored about 9.5. With it being a divisional game, I think it's going to be low. I think it's going to be an 8.5 spread. I'm more comfortable with that one. I think it might be a 9-point victory. But I will take the Chiefs to remain undefeated and just, continue to ride that defense. DC, where you have the clash between the Bears and the Commanders. Marquez Sweet's return to Washington. He's looking to feast on some young quarterback in Jaden Daniels, who is questionable right now with a rib injury to play. Marcus Mariota had a very good game against Carolina. But this Bears team is just built differently. Caleb Williams is starting to get more comfortable in this offense. He's able to find receivers and pick apart, and then he doesn't have a favorite. He has a favorite for the game, but he doesn't have a favorite target overall. Just whoever is open. Cole Kmet has been pretty good. DJ Moore, Kellen Williams. It's just every time you look, there's someone else that's going to be the focal point. You thought it'd be Zonze, but he's not as prominent in this as of yet. But he's that young rookie that could light it up as well. Which running backs don't have the better? Is going to be Robinson for Washington or Swift for the Bears? Because Swift has shown he's pretty good himself back there. McLaurin's been pretty good for Daniels in the receiving corps. It's going to be interesting, but there's a lot of question marks in that secondary for Chicago that if they're not really 100% could hamper them winning. But I like the way Caleb Williams is cooking right now. He is, like I said, getting comfortable and is getting better at every game. He sees QBR continues to rise up. You're kind of seeing a little plateauing right now. But I do think Chicago is in an excellent position because right now that NFC North is a beast, and they need a marquee win because 2 games they probably should have won. In Houston and Indianapolis, they fell short. But after that, they start this stride. I mean, back-to-back games, they scored over 30 points. I don't expect them to do that again. And their defense has really risen to the occasion. Their highs they've coughed up in the past 5 games is 21 points. It's pretty solid defense. I mean, as long as, the Bears can score at least 24, I mean, that's been the minimum they had, this 3-game winning streak. I can see this happening. But it's going to be a true test for Washington as well. They had one against Baltimore, and they went toe-to-toe with them. So I think it's a good game. This is definitely one that's right down the middle. Analytics is pretty much 50-49 in favor of Chicago. The spread right now is 1.5 in favor of Chicago. So to give a slight edge to the Bears is because of the question marks with Jaden Daniels at quarterback. But, I think it will be a very close game between these two old-school franchises. And I will continue to be a little biased and go with the Bears. Now we head into a modern-day rivalry. We kind of look at it this way. 49ers and Cowboys battling out in Santa Clara. And the 49ers, just a mash unit at the receiving corps with Deebo Samuel, now questionable. Juwan Jennings is questionable. Chris Conley is questionable. Brandon Ayuk. And the defense is just not purring up. And then you have Dallas, who's just got embarrassed embarrassed by Detroit at home. Game against Pittsburgh. They weren't very good. If Pittsburgh was actually scoring more points, they would have lost. Game against the Giants. They weren't impressive either. If the Giants were scoring touchdowns instead of field goals, the Giants would have won. Edged out by Baltimore. Demolished by New Orleans. If San Francisco can run the ball, that's what's going to really dictate. I know not having McCaffrey and the weapons right now for San Francisco is kind of missing for Brock Purdy. But they need to rely on Mason to dictate this game. The 49ers need to run. The 49ers need to make sure they stop Dallas's run because that changes the whole aspect of Dak Prescott. He becomes one-dimensional and makes it a little bit easier to defend against. But if Dak and CeeDee Lamb can get back on the same page again, it's going to be a long day for Dallas. I have a feeling it's going to be a very, very close matchup. So right now, analytics highly favor San Francisco in this one, 67-33. The point spread-wise is 49ers by 5.5. I do believe it's going to be probably a 2.5 advantage, I think, between these two. I do think Dallas, because of the injuries on the 49ers offense, will kind of balance with the injuries on the Dallas defense. But, if Dallas can figure out how to rekindle that offense, then it's going to be a dangerous game for the 49ers. I do think, like I said, it's going to be a 2.5 advantage, but I will give it to the Niners to win at home. And then finish things off on Monday night in the Steel City when the G-Men come to town. And I think Russell Wilson, once again, is going to be up there starting. He's going to look to continue where he left off. Najee Harris needs to make sure he runs. Giants proven they can't stop the run. So run the ball. That will leave up where Russ can have time frame to get Pickens. And as long as they continue to do that, I could probably say throw some trick plays in there with Justin Fields in there as well. But then Giants are going to look at it, well, he's running, and it's basically what's going to play is going to be. It's Justin Fields running. But you need to realize the talent Justin Fields has right now. It's back-to-back weeks now. The Steelers have scored 30-plus points. I think they continue that trend. Their defense is stepping up. I mean, you get a two-headed monster with T.J. Watt and Brayton Haywood. The G-Men are not going to have a fun day at all. Dan Jones is going to struggle immensely, and we might see another head coach head on the chopping block after this one. But Pittsburgh favored by 5.5. I have no question with that one. Steelers. Well, there you go. Those are my picks. Injuries is going to be a huge factor this week, as it will be for the rest of probably most of the season for a lot of these teams. We have a lot more trades coming down the pipeline. I guarantee it. So just watch out for that. See which the next star is going to make a bigger splash. But hey, let me know what you think about my picks. What you think about the season thus far. Are there any surprises you've seen so far in the season after 7 weeks of play? Are your picks for the Super Bowl still in? My question mark for the NFC. My NFC champion is looking a little shaky right now, but said 7 weeks. You never know. But let's mix it out in the comments down below. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you love. Tell me what you hate. You can't grow if you only hear positive comments. If you like what I do, you like the ramblings of seeing out the old man, hit that thumbs up for me. Greatly appreciate it. Nothing you can do is subscribe. Let you guys review my work and that means subscribe. That doesn't cost you anything. You hit that subscribe button. You click that bell icon. You hear notifications. You know next time I post any more content on my channel. And I'll see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.